Hello there, Outliers. Niiamah Sean here, and thank you so much for letting me bring my smooth, dulcet tones to your earbuds today here on the Outliers Edge podcast, where we have an amazing roundtable set in store for you. All right, I'm going to talk like normal now. Uh, but it's good to have y'all here on good to have y'all here on the podcast. We have four amazing outliers here, and I want to just get us straight into their experiences, their journey, and how they are navigating, continuing to level up as an outlier. All right. So why don't we start off with you, Stephen? Stephen, would you mind letting us get to know you and the game that you're currently playing?
Yeah. So my name is Stephen Jaye, and I'm one of those outliers who's trying to start a business while also still having a full-time job. And I also have a podcast of my own. My business interest is actually around helping with the social media and technology addiction that's going on right now. I just really want to help us get over this because the excessive amount of time that we spend, buried in our phones is really kind of messing up our mental health and robbing us of our time that we have to pursue our passions.
That's awesome. It's like I got a chance to get to know Steven here, and I like one of the things I get about him is that he just helps people reclaim their time. You're all in on that. So glad that you're here, Steven. Why don't we get to know you, Heather? Tell us about you and the game that you're playing. Then we'll go to Frahelis.
All right. So that's interesting that Stephen is getting people away from social media. I've been working in social media marketing as a freelancer for a few years, working with tech startups. Very relatable, especially the last 2 years have been very interesting in that space. I have my own business. I've also blown up that business this year and decided to start over. You got to do it sometimes. It's destiny architecture because you are the architect of your own destiny. And it kind of turns out I've been on a strange road this year where I decided after 10 years of coaching and Reiki and energetic coaching to kind of take a step back and dive deeper into yoga. Since I'm a yoga teacher now, I've been teaching yoga for more than a year, and just kind of finding new ways to deliver that. And finding new ways to get paid to deliver that and more of a value for value basis, which is kind of a longer story, but there's I think a better and different way to be the architect of your own destiny, and like taking control of your time is certainly a part of that, and finding I think better ways to make money that are more sustainable, and making a more sustainable money as well is a big part of that. But also, I think yoga is more, I think, all encompassing. So, how do I get that to more people around the world? And, just to find a way for that to make a difference in people's lives.
I appreciate you being here. This element of like finding better and different ways to be the architect of your destiny, really it piques my interest. I had a conversation with someone, and it's like things could be going good, but there's also still room for great and
Mhm.
exceptional and stupendous, and I think there's something in there about like continuing to reinvent yourself in pursuit of like the actual thing you're trying to get to. So Heather, we might go and explore that a little bit more in this conversation. All right.
Cool.
Thanks for bringing it. For Haley's, let's get to know you. Tell us more about you and the game that you're playing right now.
Hi. So I also have a podcast called Authentically for Haley's, where it's like the audio version of my YouTube channel, where I talk about relationships, spirituality, friendships, life, for women to evolve and not settle for less. So yeah, that's what I'm currently working on. I'm also trying to like build my platform on Instagram and also on TikTok. I still have not made a lot of, like sales or anything, but I get a little bit of brand deals, but I'm just really trying to build my community and my brand.
Awesome for Haley's. I'm already getting so excited because I feel like we're getting people from that are playing the outlier game in many different ways. And like what I'm all of what I'm hearing is like we're growing something, we're building something, and we're building
Yeah.
ourselves through it. So excited to have you here for Haley's.
Thank
Bo,
you.
give us a chance to get to know you. Share us more about you and the game that you're playing.
Okay. Right now, I'm actually pretty similar. I have a podcast called the Zen Cabinet podcast, and on this podcast, I just also discuss spirituality and I'm also spending a lot of time trying to, help people release their emotional energy, help people peel back the layers and explore something a lot more authentic and intrinsic to who they are. I'm very passionate about helping people tap into the deepest part of their potential and, ultimately create better lives for themselves. So that's a lot of what I do there. I've also been trying to extend the podcast into a business, and I'm also building my platform on TikTok and YouTube a little bit, but more so TikTok and just in my writing. And I have a blog on Medium as well. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
Y'all just fun. Like this is the cool thing about hanging out with outliers. And I get that I'm catching you like you all in a stage right now where you're building right now, you
Mhm.
know? It's less like grooming and tending and like, or bringing on like other people into it. It's like you stand for something and you're like, all right, let me get this infrastructure in place and build to sustainability. How does that sound to y'all as I say this? Does that feel
Oh
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Very,
have that a deep
Mhm.
like, yeah. Yeah.
very.
All right. So like let's play with this here. I love meeting people and being like, this is where we are because like there's so many outliers listening to this that are look, the things that like the people listening to this have a track record of success and outliers. If you're thinking to yourself, like, oh, you can't be talking about me, I specifically mean you. Like, that's like, I mean you even more. All right. We have a level of success. And then we step into, but I want to build something more. I want to step into something more. And, I like to explore that with y'all here in this conversation. So let's start this off here with the component of like expanding, exploring, and up leveling. I really love that element. And let's start off by exploring how your beliefs have had to up level in order for you to like step out of what you were doing and step into whatever the next level is for you, right? So, Stephen, we're going to go in the same order that we introduce ourselves. So start off with you, Stephen. Tell us about a belief that you had that you got to up level in order to play at the level you do now.
Yeah, to say it's in a very broad sense, and it's interesting that you all bring up spirituality because I do dabble in a lot of those spiritual things. And there was a time in the year 2018 when I was doing breathworks, and the message I kept getting in my head was actually, you are not enough, which just shows how far I've come in the last 6 years because I realized that that phrase is kind of a catch-all for a lot of these limiting beliefs that I had to kind of one by one push out that were entrenched into my subconscious based on years and years of programming where whether it be you are not enough, like you don't deserve this, who am I to try to start this, who am I to be a part of this, versus actually saying to myself like, well, why not me? Look at the things I do well. And one of the keys to that was that we have a lot of talents that we often diminish in our own brains because it comes easy to us. And when something comes easy to you, you tend to not really think it's that hard because you're just naturally good at it and then kind of dismiss its impact. But by noticing the things that come easy to us and actually appreciating ourselves for it, we can actually start to level up and think, yes, I am enough. Yes, I do have value in the world. Yes, I can build something.
Mm. So you're speaking my language right here. It's like the element of like leaning it, like seeing what comes easy to you and leaning into it, not dismissing it, but actually like embracing that. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for getting us started so strongly, Stephen. Outliers. Let's pay attention and let's keep growing from here. Heather, let's come to you. Like,
Mhm.
what's a belief that needed to upgrade for you?
Oh man, that's a big one. I think this year I dove deep into the subconscious and definitely part of those limiting beliefs. You got to shred them. And I had something that had been a thorn in my side for the last 20 years and was able to finally clear this issue. And that was the catalyst for me to go, yeah, this is not the time for me to be coaching. This is not the time for me to be facilitating Reiki sessions and taking people deep. I need to turn within and work on myself for a while. And yoga's been a great part of that, helping to release emotions in the physical for sure. And so the limiting beliefs, I think that there was just a good stack of them that went together that I wasn't aware of. And that kind of shook me, because I've spent years working on off the mat yoga with my teacher and trying to kind of delve into the variety of samskaras that we have, or the samskara and yoga is not specifically a limiting belief, but just kind of like a behavioral pattern, a thinking pattern that we have. And I think diving so deeply this year, I kind of couldn't understand how I hadn't dug that up from my subconscious. But once I did, after 20 years, it was like, oh, I'm free now. So let me blow everything up and start over is where I got. And let's rebuild. We'll do it better. I had a brick and mortar, room that I was renting. I decided that was not for me anymore. I'm gonna take everything online and rebuild and regroup, and just, gosh, having a fresh start is just so great and so inspiring. And I wouldn't wish the difficulties of it on anybody, and certainly not for 20 years. But if you can knock that out a little quicker, that's a lot better.
I'm hearing a number of things here. There's something about that actually put a little bit of a tear to my eye here. We talked about just owning it. Like, this is not the time to go deep. I can tell y'all, like, there's a lot of times where I ask myself, I'm like, I was this big, deep, powerful coach. Like, shouldn't I go deeper? And like right now, it does not feel like that's what's being called out right now. And so, Heather, just so you know, that spoke to me directly when you said that. And then the element of like allowing yourself to find things about yourself that have been there for decades without actually recognizing it. We'll talk more about that if we potentially, because that brings things here. And then the idea of like the freedom to rebuild, to re-up, to regroup, and to do it better this time. There's something really fun in that. I appreciate you being here. Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you. Frahelis, how about you? I'm coming to you. Same question here. Like, what's a belief you needed to upgrade? And if you want to take it another level, you can say, for where I'm heading to next, this is the belief that right now I'm trying. Like, I think I need a challenge.
Okay, so I think it was about 2 years ago. I was like in a broken, dark version of myself, and I was just walking away from a really like bad relationship, and that right there like taught me to become more stronger, more wiser, and I really tapped into spirituality. And like during my spirituality, like I started to believe that there is better for me, and I started to tap into my intuition and my discernment, and that right there helped me started my podcast, my channel. I started journaling, and I started to believe, like, there is more to life than just studying college, doing the traditional route that I felt like a lot of us were brainwashed when we were young. So that really changed my beliefs that you don't have to go the traditional route. You're doing something that you don't love, you don't enjoy, to be where you want to be, to have freedom, to have, peace or financial freedom in your life. And right now, like, I'm still working on that. And that is why I'm at where I'm at right now today, believing in myself more and knowing that there's more what I forgot the word. There's more things, more oh my god, I don't know the word. There's more opportunities out there for me, and not having that limited mindset that I was born into.
Yeah, I
And
love
I'm
this.
sorry, my daughter's in the background.
Oh yeah. So one thing that's really, really important here is that y'all don't need to apologize for being you or for living your life. Like, that's really big, right? Underneath everything here, Outliers Edge, the business, the movement, it's all about belonging, and belonging exactly as you are. And I think it is so cool. I don't know. I love seeing how we continue to grow. So I appreciate you being conscientious, and like we're glad that she's making a contribution to the conversation. Thank you, Frahelis.
You're welcome.
Mhm. Beau, we'll wrap us up on this question here. This is really around like a belief that you decided to up level, or maybe it decided it needed to get up leveled in order for you to play at the level that you wanted to play at. So do me a favor, share with us one of those beliefs, and let us know, um, yeah, how that transpired for you.
Yeah, so um a little similar to Frahelis, but a limiting belief that I definitely struggle with for a long time is believing that I could be myself, I could show up as myself and be successful in the world. growing up, you are introduced to a lot of different archetypes and, expectations of how you're supposed to go about or navigate life. I think when I started, uh, especially working in corporate America, I really just didn't see any careers or see any jobs and see anybody doing anything that matched what I wanted to do. I've always seen myself as a creative and artistic person. I think I've just always been surrounded by people who are different. Maybe like about 10 or so years ago, I started getting into, like personality types by Carl Jung. And, I don't know if you all are familiar with any of that, but I discovered that I was an NFP, and we're usually a lot more creative and our energy is oriented differently. And, in the midst of discovering these kind of things, life started making it very hard for me to hide and, wear those masks that I was wearing. I went through a period about maybe 7 years ago where I lost about maybe 7 jobs in like a year and a half, and I knew that life wanted me to develop and something had to change. I went through an eviction at that time and just I was losing everything, and it was just really a spiritual awakening. Life was just definitely prying the door open, and I had to evolve. And during that time, met the magazine cabinet was born out of honestly emptiness and having nothing going on, and I desire deeply to operate at full power. And with starting the magazine cabinet, it started to fill me up, and people started to respond and reach out, and I started to get that feedback that what I was doing was necessary, that it was heartfelt, that it was valuable. And yeah, it's just been tremendous in the payoff, but definitely evolving past the idea that you can't be yourself in the world. I heard Oprah say one time that you will never reach your full potential being anyone but yourself. So, that limiting belief has gone a long way with me. And it is something I'm glad that I've done away with. And I'm just a lot more bold and confident and courageous behind it.
That was amazing.
You got
Yeah. I
you all
got
make me smile.
excited because I'm also an ENFP on that personality test. So
Yeah, Bo, like it's cool, like as we talk here, because I think one of the things that gets me, especially with outliers, like and for any of y'all listening, these four came here because I sent out a random email to them, and I said, hey, a random guy send you a random email to come on a random podcast, to go spend time with three other random people around a topic that will probably be decided in real time. So hence random, and what I like, it never stops to amaze me how awesome you all are. Right. And I get that it takes something to be where you are right now. All right. Let me ask, like, and this, I've never asked this question before, so I'll be curious to see. I'll start with Heather on this one, and then let's just play off each other in here. Like Heather, like, what's something that like most people wouldn't guess it took for you to be like sitting here, for you to be who you are right now?
Oh man, that is a great question. What did it take to get here was facing every fear. Facing the thing that you're most afraid of is what it takes to push through. There are things I think that we make into boogeymen in our lives that we probably make them out to be bigger than they are and more scary than they are. And it's through working through those things, whether it's, showing up as a public speaker could be that thing. For me, it was a big kind of an internal thing to where it was like I'd avoided something for, like a good 12 out of the 20 years. And finally, one day I was like, let's rip off the Band-Aid. Let's do this. And so it was working through that fear, and being honest with myself and being honest with, where my subconscious had led me. That the facing of the fears is actually what brought me here today. I've been sober for a long time too. I've been sober for 11 years. And, that was one of those fears to face where it's like, how do I do life sober? I was afraid to do that. And it's like, there are a few things that I'm super afraid of at this point. And I think I'm to the point where it's like, I think I can push through, what's left. I think I made it. I feel like I could do a victory lap now.
Yeah, we're run alongside you. Thank you for that, Heather. Like,
Mhm.
we're just gonna keep playing here. Who else has something there where like there was something about, like, if people look at you now, they'll be like, I had no clue that like you had to overcome this, or that this was a part of your journey in order to be where you are right now. Anyone else have something they want to bring in?
I think pain and being uncomfortable, because there was seasons in my life where I knew I had to be uncomfortable to get to a position where I can be comfortable, and that comes with a lot of pain. That comes with a lot of decisions that is not comfortable, and being able to grow and evolve on your own and going through personal self development.
Frahelis,
And
would you mind if I ask you? I appreciate you bringing this in. If you're good with it, would you mind like giving us like one example and help making it real? Because it like it would go a long way if you don't mind. If you do, like we'll leave it as it is. But I'm gonna ask.
Well, there was like definitely a season in my life where I had to really remove myself from toxic situations and environment. And I noticed that when I was around this environment, I was becoming toxic. And I was a version of myself that I did not like for me. And I knew I wouldn't be able to grow and get to where I want to be and have peace. So that comes with pain and growth and also being uncomfortable, because I realized that when you're doing things that makes you uncomfortable, you're growing, and it's going to put you in a path sooner than later where you are comfortable and you are happy and you are at peace.
I love this here. And then like I have one more follow-up if you're good with it. Like what was your flavor of being uncomfortable, right? How do I say it? So for me, my flavor is being alone. Like and that shows up in a lot of different ways, but like I'm like, I don't know who else is doing a podcast panel, so should I do it? Should I not? And then I get started on it, you know? So that's where my uncomfortable lives there, and that's just like a level one version of it. So I'm curious as you're going through it, what was one like? Yeah, what was one of your flavors of being uncomfortable through this?
I think it's really mostly putting myself out there,
Hmm.
especially on social media, like trying to be relatable, having people like resonate to like my advice, to what I've been through. I think that's a little bit uncomfortable for me because I'm like
Yeah,
sharing, but I'm also trying to help people.
yeah.
And also being by myself too. Like I actually love being by myself. So
Mhm.
doing this podcast, like I'm very shy. This is very different. This is very new to me. It's a little bit uncomfortable because I'm new, but I know like maybe this will help me grow, and I'm gonna learn so much from it. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, it's so interesting here. It's actually very funny how like in the question about like what's something that most people wouldn't know that you had to overcome in order to show up where you are. Like you're like, oh yeah, by the way, this whole thing, like y'all may not be able to know, but like I'm overcoming as we talking, you know? And I love that. I love that element of like we get there first and then we have the experience and then let that transform us versus like, oh, let me make sure that like I have mentally prepared like I don't know, I have to break through everything in order to first do it. Like I really respect you and I'm grateful that you're giving us like a real-time experience of this. What's coming up for anyone here right now? Is there feel like I'm gonna open it up here. You can respond back to that to the hidden part. It could be something else that's showing up for you. What's popping off for you right now?
I would like to say something.
Yeah, please, Bo.
Um, I would like to say that something that I guess is maybe it's a dual prong answer, but I grew up a people pleaser for most of my life, and growing up a people pleaser, that made my life very hard and complicated. And one major thing that you probably wouldn't necessarily know looking at me is that I had to go no contact with family for many years to unpack and to unplug and to rewire and, to teach myself that I deserve success, that I deserve to be happy, that I deserve to prioritize my needs and put me first. And, going through that period, I'm still in that period really, but going through that period and just allowing myself to focus on me and struggling with the feelings at times of feeling like I'm being selfish with me as opposed to being someone that's very, just giving of myself to other people. But just taking this time, taking this chapter, the last few chapters or so to dedicate to me and my growth and my wellness, in addition to building this platform that I also want to serve the world with. So, yeah, going no contact and, knowing that I played a role that may very well damage, a very valuable relationships for Lord knows how long. But, just going no contact and just choosing to take the higher ground, the uncomfortable ground, recognizing that that's not necessarily a conversation or a situation that you can often discuss with many people, because a lot of people are, programmed and wired to believe there's nothing that'll make me not talk to my family, but everybody's different. And just, again, a part of what the Medicine Cabinet is about in terms of welcoming that sense of difference and diversity and, diversified experience and all the different things. So, yeah, the people pleaser part and the no contact with family part.
Mhm.
I a million percent agree with what Beau said. Like, I resonate so hard.
Yeah. Some of those family relationships can be pretty hard because, like, I mean, the interesting thing about that I always think is that, like, when you have people that are not family members, whether you're choosing to have a personal, strategic, or operational network, choosing who to be friends with, it's like your choice. But family, of course, is not your choice. And you were born into that group of people, right?
Right. Yeah, I've had to go no contact as well with someone in my life, and it's amazing how, as time goes on and the longer that person's out of my life, actually, the better my life gets, and the better I become as a person, because you don't realize that you're letting someone drag you down, that they're toxic. It is I think a smaller part than what it brings out in you. And who you associate with is very important. And I think that, like Frahelis was saying, like, I can be really toxic if I'm in the wrong environment around the wrong person, and that's being untrue to myself, but not very congruent with my goals. And I think maybe it's people pleasing, as Beau says, and maybe it's just, I think for me, there was a point of just wanting to keep the family together, and then finally kind of having that come to Jesus moment of like, why? What's the point? This is not making me happier. I don't think it's helping the other person either. I think that we're terrible together, and it doesn't matter if there's blood here. This is madness, and we're not good for each other. Or that this person's never going to be good for me, and I'm a Christian, so I want to forgive them, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that they're going to have access to me, and that they don't get to have any say or control over my life. And I wish them well, but we got to stay on different sides of the world.
And I also want to say that, like, when you remove like toxic family members, relationships, friends, whoever it is, like, I notice it's never a loss if you have peace. If you have peace, you've done the right thing. It doesn't matter if you're related to them. Like, I had to learn that the hard way in my, season of outgrowing everybody and keeping my distance. Is definitely not a loss. It's actually a gain, because you gain your mental health, your peace. You gain so much more just having negativity out of your life.
Mhm.
And it took me forever to get to a place like that myself, because I would always be worried about what's coming next. And so, like, you can apply that to relationships, you can apply that to quitting a toxic job. I'm sure a lot of people listening have had toxic jobs. It's a very common thing. And so, oftentimes it's like, well, how am I going to get a new job? Or if I cut off this group of friends, I don't like who will be coming around. Well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do on Friday nights, or blah, 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 whatever. And it takes a while to realize that you need to open that space in your life in order to make room for whatever's going to come into your life. And as long as you're, I guess, showing up as your true self, showing up as who you are, you're going to bring the right people into your life. And I've even noticed, because I've been on a spirituality type of kick for the last few years. And, as was noted, this is a randomly assembled group of people. And I happened to hear from all three of you, as we did the introductions, like an element of spirituality, an element of that type of community pursuit. And it's just like so amazing how, all of a sudden, like, when you open yourself up to something and you start showing up a certain way, it shows up in your life in ways that you never expect, in ways that it's just like, okay, this was a randomly assembled group, but we happen to all be talking about our spiritual pursuits, or even other similar pursuits, because I'm also big into those personality tests as well.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to say that I appreciate everybody, being vulnerable and definitely just sharing those bits and pieces of yourself. I know in a lot of what we do, especially in um, Yeah, I guess in a lot of what we do, sometimes it could probably be, I don't know if it's like this for you all, but sometimes it could be a little challenging to be sure of what to reveal, what to share, how to keep it separate. What do you want to, what do you want to disclose with people? How vulnerable, how deep, you know, I've had lots of people before, just, tell me like, yeah, Bo, you tend to overshare sometimes. You tend to overshare. And I mean, I guess for me, I don't really see it as oversharing. I grew up in an environment where the truth was a lot more rare. You had to really dig deep and find it. You had to work hard to find it, to get it. It wasn't just immediately available to me. So I've always told myself that I wanted to be someone that would create a culture within my relationships or my friendships where the truth, the truth or how I'm really feeling and different things like that would be readily available. I'm not the friend you would have to pull teeth or, work very hard to get those things from. So, yeah, I just appreciate everybody just sharing those bits and pieces of your journey and what makes you you.
Yeah, I look, I appreciate y'all. So, you're going to see me here. I'm coming in from you from multiple different rooms in this conversation. Uh, the what I'm really appreciative is the way that we walk our lives, right? So we're hearing different elements of uh, like I'm going to speak to like some component of I really respect y'all in making the powerful and what I imagine to be really difficult choice to step away from something that society that everything has been saying like this isn't the way to do things, and yet you each made a choice in your own way of saying like, but it is for me. It's the way that I'm doing things. Um, and I think it's really important because I honestly I just think you're really like speaking to so many outliers here. It's one of the gifts of doing these conversations where I'm like, one, you all are experiencing each other and hearing each other and having that happen. But then there are other outliers out there that are like, finally, like I can do my thing and I can have this happen for me. I can have this in my past. I can have this in my present or like maybe in my future because I know I need to go take these steps here. And I get that it can still work. I get that the things out like beyond it. So like I really appreciate y'all on this here. Anything else anyone want to say on this before I bring in another topic?
So I just wanted to riff off of, the general idea about outliers and the path we're following and kind of, what it takes to be true to the path. Because on my podcast, I actually commonly refer to this as living by the script. And the script meaning, that path that's already set out for you, whether it be school, work, at this age, you do this thing, on Wednesday night, you do that thing, and stuff like that. And I always like to say that this living by the script is something that worked for a plurality of people about 100 years ago, and we kind of by inertia still have that system. And one thing I'm really hoping for as we kind of move into the future, depending on what you believe about the future and in whatever realm of spirituality you're following, but as we kind of move toward like a new phase of humanity, that we actually do kind of recognize that everyone's going to have their own individual paths and that we're all going to be determining for ourselves what we want life to be like, not living by what I call living by the script.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big part of being the architect of your own destiny. And part of the reason I blew up, my business this year, I thought there's a better way to bring yoga to people. I work a little bit in the music business too. And it's like, well, if I'm going to tell artists to do value for value, I should put myself out there and I should do that too. And so how do you teach yoga online and do that value for value and receive,
What does that mean, value for value? You've said it a few times, so I want to make sure we're on
yeah,
the same
yeah. So
page.
value for value is kind of part of the podcasting 2.0 system of receiving direct Bitcoin payments, for like your podcast. So I started a podcast about that to talk specifically about artists and how they can make money better. Rather than having a label and waiting for seasonal royalty checks, you can receive payments directly in real time, no intermediaries. So there's the Radio Detox podcast. And I thought, well, if I'm going to preach this, because I think this is such a great idea and I see this is going to be this is going to work for independent artists in the future, I should do it. So I started teaching yoga online and receiving Bitcoin payments. And like one night I made maybe $60 doing that. And I'm like, this is great. There's somebody in the world who could really use $60 worth of value for teaching a class. It doesn't have to be a yoga class, whatever you're doing online. There's parts of the world where $60 is a lot of money. And so, how do I replicate that? How do we teach people that there's a way out of being ensconced in legacy systems like legacy social media or Patreon, where they have control of your payments, they have control of your money, and if you say something and get deplatformed, they can cut you off, and then maybe you made a bunch of money and then maybe you don't get paid. So there's value for value means you're getting some value in return, but you've got to give some value. And it changes the way that you think. It changes the way you present what you have to the world. Because if you are providing value, the cream will rise to the top. And so instead of, for example, being an artist on Spotify and being fed to fans by an algorithm, you would put your song out on an independent place, at, like Wave Lake or Fountain. And if you have an amazing song, you're going to get voted up through, plays, through payments, through direct lightning payments. We call them zaps. And that's going to vote you up. And so you're going to find great music that way. And, that's just the way of the future. And it's an exchange of value. And these artists can make a bunch of money that they weren't making before. You can be on Spotify forever and make $2. You can be on there for years and not make more than that. But you can, an artist, Sarah Jade, out of San Diego, where Niiamah is. Sarah Jade did a show for us here in Phoenix and played 30 minutes of music, all original songs. We broadcasted online, and she made $700 in 30 minutes. When's the last time you did that? When's the last time an artist got to do that with original music? So that's kind of the message I'm carrying to the world is, if you have something of value, your time, your talent, your treasure. You might hear this from Adam Curry as well. The Podfather started this movement. Your talent is worth something, and these algorithms are burying you, and they're keeping you from sharing your magical gifts with the world. And there's a better way. We're building it right now. Maybe it's not ready for prime time, but it's ready for those who are, willing to push through the discomfort of being part of something new. We're there for you.
The cool part is that you're on a podcast where people are constantly pushing through that discomfort there, right? We're a group of early adopters and innovators and things. And I love that, like, I love the way we keep finding ways to grow and make pathways cleaner and clearer and get us straight to what it is that we're all about. All right, y'all. So we're about ready to wrap up this conversation. I get caught each time here, and I want to ask one more question. I definitely do, but I think actually we're gonna play it smart and give us some time here to wrap up this conversation with a little bit of space. Oh, there's something here that I want to do. I've wanted to do this for a while. This is what we're gonna do. Outliers. Thank you so much for so far for listening here. I have an ask of you. My ask is this: can you think of one person in your life who would benefit from this engaging, like, invigorating and honestly challenging conversation that we've been having here today? Someone in your life that, but what did you say earlier? Life started making it very hard for you to hide, and like someone who would benefit from being another participant in this conversation. Would you mind sharing this episode in particular with them and letting them know that you were thinking of them and why you decided to share it with them? I'm happy for people to go and share this on their socials and on their various platforms. It'll be wonderful for the podcast. But I think something that'd be great for humanity is for us to do what I call the one person, one conversation at a time initiative. We just go and we just let one person know about one conversation at a time and have that go in. I guess it's just like, in my mind, it's like a very simple way of giving a gift out in the world and let them know that someone is being thought of. Right. So if you can do that, that would mean the world to me, Outliers. That would absolutely mean the world to me. We're going to wrap up this conversation here, and we're going to do it in two ways here. Yes, we're going for it. I'm making this happen. So what we're going to do is I'm going to first start off with everyone letting us know how you can how people can go deeper down the journey with you and they can stay in contact with you, as well as sharing one insight that you got from today's conversation. Outliers are taken care of. Like they're good. Now this is just you, like, let us know, how have you changed? What are you taking away from this conversation here? All right. And if you didn't have an insight, that's cool too, to say I didn't have an insight, and that's fine. But we're going to put this in a space where we let them know how they can continue on with you and an insight that you got from this conversation. All right. Why don't we start with you, Beau, and then we'll go to Heather.
Okay. Well, you can definitely find me on a number of different platforms. You can find me on Instagram at I am Beau. You can also find me on Buzzsprout, the Medizin Cabinet podcast. And where else? You can also catch me on Spotify as well. One insight that I will say that was very interesting to me is the insight that Stephen was sharing about living by the script. I thought that was very cool. Something about hearing it makes me think it might be a book already or something like that. But yeah, something about living by the script. Yeah, very prophetic for me. Definitely taking that one with me.
Thank you, Beau. Heather?
I loved hearing how everybody has leaning towards spirituality. I think that giving yourself up and surrendering to something bigger and seeking, I think is so refreshing to hear that other people are kind of, waking up, seeking and finding solace in something spiritual. I think that's important. And if you want to find me, I'm Heather Larson, just my name, on most platforms like Instagram. I actually show up on, and Noster I'm on, and Blue Sky, and I don't know. I'm pretty easy to find. Just go to destinyarchitecture.net and you'll find all of it.
I love it. Thank you, Heather. Thank you for playing. Stephen and for Haley's.
Yeah. Sorry.
And
So
insight you had, and then how we can continue down the journey with you.
okay. Well, the insight I had is that I'm always a person that's kind of looking to the future, and I've actually read the book Life After Google, which speculates about what the world would be like under the blockchain. So, although Value for Value at first glance sounds like an R&B group from my childhood, it was really interesting to hear about how that whole system works and how people can actually get paid, on the fly, because I've also read Filter World and other books about algorithms, because that's a big part of my journey. And to follow up with me, first of all, my podcast is Actions Antidotes. So it's actions-antidotes.com. And then my business around cutting down screen time is actually www.lessscreentime.com.
Nicely done. Nicely done. And then for Haley's, let us know about an insight you got, and then how people can continue down the journey with you.
The insight that I have is that I really like that how we all can all relate and resonate to spirituality, and also like leaving toxic situations behind, leaving things that no longer serve us. And people can find me on Instagram for Haley's underscore. I'm also on TikTok for Frahelis Perez, and my podcast is on iTunes and Spotify, authentically for Frahelis.
Nice, nice. All right. So normally this is where I would be ending the conversation. I'd be like, all right, outliers, and so on and so forth. But I want to try one more thing here, and it'll probably take about 2 minutes. And what I've been realizing through this podcast is that this is not just like a recording. Uh, it's actually an experience that's being recorded and then shared out with people. And how I love to like close experiences is really to leave on the words, it's on the field of gifts, right? And connection and gifts. So what I'm going to invite here is for each of us to go around and share one thing that we gained from someone else, like the gift that someone else gave us. So it might be like, Heather, the gift that I got from you from this conversation was, and we don't need to elaborate on it. To say it in one sentence, trust that the person receiving it is going to receive it the way that like it's intended for them to receive, and then we'll go about it in that way. Yeah, I like to wrap up in that way. What I'll say, I'll preface this to the events. Not everyone, it may not go around. Like, it may not be like everyone's going to say something to everyone in this space here. And I take that on there. And I think that allows us just to be real with it. It doesn't mean that you weren't impactful. It just means that like, it just like, that's where the pool was. Right. And it also just, I think, allows you to just say what you really want to say to whoever it is. Okay. So we're going to use that to close ourselves off for today. Um, does anyone need an example of this? Are we good? Does this make sense? All right, we're good to go. I don't remember the exact order, but why don't we start with you again, Beau? I'm going to probably try and do the same order as I did the last time. But Beau, would you mind sharing a gift that you got from someone?
I would say that a gift that I got from Heather that was pretty cool was just a bit about being not being scared to, blow up a business and start a new one and just being fearless and, just making those hard decisions and just pushing through and doing the work. That was cool.
Thank you for that. For Haley's, how about you?
The gift that I got from Beau is when he was talking about people pleasing. I could really, really relate to that because I went through a season of that and I'm still kind of going through a season of that. So um that's one thing that really like stuck to me.
Heather?
I'm gonna go with Stephen. Just the part you said about reading Life After Google and saying that you looked into blockchain technology, because that gives me something to go back to my group of builders and go, hey, we talk about this a lot. I met someone today who's reading books and watching how people kind of come to these realizations, and how people kick tires, how people find information and become aware of it. Helps me meet people where they're at. So I appreciate that little tidbit of information.
Hey, lovely. And then
Thank
Stephen, round us up.
Thank you. It is a good book written in 2018. I would also like to thank Beau for giving me the gift of kind of I've been also thinking like down like a family ancestry journey. I actually went to Italy this year to go to the town my great grandfather was born. So, understanding sometimes you do have to manage some of those family relationships and expectations, and that there's nothing wrong with what you need to do, whatever that is.
And if you don't mind, I'll play because usually I keep myself out, but I'll play too. And for Haley's, like there's something you brought in around peace. Like every time you said the word peace, like a lightning bolt went off inside of me, and I was like, oh, I think this is something really important to me right now. And so I'm very, very grateful that you brought that in. Y'all, this is it. Now, Outliers, I'm going to talk to you here. Thank you. Thank you for letting us play. Thank you. Like, let's continue to expand here. Allies, look, you keep playing your game, keep up leveling your thing. You are not alone. And remember this, go out in the world and be you on purpose. Journey on.